Was in the ring and he took a choke slam from The Undertaker, and in the course of doing so, his shoes came off his body. It's the only time in 15 years I'd ever been knocked out, just legitimately unconscious, to the point where if you actually go back and watch that match, you'll see me after about a minute roll over. And for you lip readers out there, what I'm saying is, where'd those shoes come from? And as I emerged from this fog of unconsciousness, I started gaining my bearings. I knocked The Undertaker off the top rope, and I sat down in the corner of the ring, and with part of one of my front teeth sticking out of my nose, JR said, "Look at him, he's smiling." Here's the truth. Even in the state I was in, I realized that second fall through the cell, in which a steel chair had followed me down the entire length of the way, smashing into my face, causing significant damage to my already significantly damaged dental work, that I also had a large wound underneath my lip. And I thought to myself, you know, Mick, if you can find out a way to take your tongue, stick it through that wound, and wriggle it, it'll make for some pretty captivating television. Thank you all. No one ever saw the time. In fairness, JR, it did seem like I was smiling. And now the last person I'd like to mention, without whom none of this would have happened. I might be here on this very night, but I'd be out there watching instead of up here being inducted. If anyone's ever said a bad word about this particular man, they say it in private, because I've never heard one, and the person in question is The Undertaker. Long before there was a Hell in a Cell, he put me on the map here, because he saw something in me. I'd known him from years before, and he'd followed my career. I remember, like, when I was elsewhere, actually running behind The Undertaker. At that time, they had a real hearse for him to drive from town to town in. And I'd known Undertaker since 1990. I'd known the late, great Paul Bearer since 1988, when he used to ask me to babysit his children so he and his wife could enjoy an evening out. And I'll say that I had that most fortunate of luck to have been in the right place at the right time with absolutely the right guy, and we achieved the perfect wrestling scenario where both guys benefit from having been in the ring together. Speaking of Paul Bearer, we had this custom every time we wrestled The Undertaker. I'd be out there in the ring first, and then that music would hit, and I'm going to look for guys who wrestle them, and they're probably going to nod in agreement. And Uncle Paul would, JBL, you've been there many times, Uncle Paul would raise up his sleeve and he'd show me that his hair was standing on end and he had goosebumps, and I would show him mine. And it was the most ominous feeling, and so I want him to know, and all of you to know, that never once did I take for granted how much his performances, his persona, and his work ethic, not only me and so many of the people sitting here tonight, but the business in general. So I'll be like all of you. I'm at the edge of my seat wondering if the streak continues. The Undertaker, legend, I guess it goes without saying that he'll be up here whenever he feels like it. And I'm going to give you an in-depth conversation. Cena, this is how close we are. The Undertaker and I, after he tore the house down last year at Mania, and he was hurting, he was really hurting. I felt like I was the only man who could walk up to him and say what was on everybody else's mind. I said, Undertaker, please, just promise me that you'll never start tweeting. There's just be something wrong in a world in which The Undertaker uses the phrase LOL. Dead man do not tweet, my friend. But this was the place. There's so many great moments. I had the debut of Cactus Jack here in 1997. I faced Triple H. The 2000 Royal Rumble street fight. Michael Cole's out here, and he's a huge Springsteen fan, and every time I run across drummer Max Weinberg, he tells me he was in the front row when Triple H and I had that unbelievable battle all the way back in 2000. And then in 2008, I had my last great moment in this building. I was part of the Royal Rumble. And that is what's known as a smattering of applause. It's just, if you're not going to go all the way, don't do it at all, right? Just embarrassing yourselves out there. I'd taken note of where my children would be sitting. It was the first time in many years, the first match ever that my entire family had been in attendance for. So I took note of where they were sitting, and I went out not knowing what to expect. And I tried to relive a great moment from the Royal Rumble 2000 where Triple H and we were throwing some heavy punches. And I got so insulted because this huge eruption went out throughout the arena, and I thought, who has the audacity? Which of these guys has the audacity to step on my big return moment and do some type of unbelievable move? Because the truth is, you can think of so many things in the shortest amount of time when action is taking place. And I'll give you an example. In 1994 in Munich, Germany, when I lost my ear, I knew that the back of the ear was comprised mostly of cartilage and was therefore not likely to bleed. But yet I saw a steady stream of blood pitter-pattering against the bright blue protective mask. And I immediately thought of how much the song, "Listen to the Rhythm of the Falling Rain," sounded like the Michael Hayes penned theme song for Ricky the Dragon Steamboat. Because one went, "Listen to the rhythm of the falling rain," and the other one went, "Loves his wife and kids and does the best he can. Ricky Steamboat the Dragon." By the way, Michael, that's some ominous verbiage there. You know? We're at the ring, I don't know, this guy loves his wife and kids, does the best he can. But the strangest thing about that tremendous round of applause is there was nothing else going on of note in the ring, and even as Hunter and I were pelting each other with punches, I thought, this is for us. This reaction is for us. Like, it just didn't occur to me. Sometimes I forget the esteem that some of you hold me in, and forget that something I do could merit that type of reaction. Well, I like you in a platonic way too. But it was later in that same Royal Rumble match, Big Daddy V was sitting on my head while I was in the turnbuckle. I was unable to move. And so I thought I'd take the opportunity to scan the crowd and look for my children and see if they were enjoying themselves. And my family was sitting up about halfway there in the first section. And I look at my younger kids, Mickey and Huey, and they were giving Dad a little bit of this. They were booing their own father. And when I drove home, I was in quite a bit of pain, and I remember thinking, this might be the last match I ever have, and I'll have to live with the fact that it ended with my own children booing me. And by the time I got back to Long Island, I thought, you know what? That's exactly the way I'd like my career to end. Thank you. Bye. Without regrets. I know some of you may not want to get this heavy, but I invited someone special, and it doesn't appear that he has made it here tonight. Has anyone seen Santa Claus here? I guess it's possible you couldn't find the building. The guy who makes it to 357 million homes in a single evening can't find the most famous arena in the world. I also have to live with the fact I never beat Chris Jericho. I used to have this habit, and even today, my daughter Noelle saw me. I had a different move. I was closing my eyes and shaking my head, and she was going, "Are you okay?" I said, "I'm just working on my speech." But in the old days, my wife would see me in the gym, and yes, I did used to go to the gym. I didn't get much stronger, but I would think of a lot of cool things to say, and she'd see me over there, my eyes closed, my right arm would be shaking, and she'd come over and she'd grab me and say, "You're doing promos, aren't you?" And I said, "Yeah, I'm doing promos." And I stopped thinking about promos for the longest time. I stopped thinking about great moments that I might be able to bring to the WWE Universe until last year, the Hall of Fame induction ceremony. I grabbed Chris and I said, "Chris, can I talk to you about something some other time?" And what I was thinking during that Hall of Fame, I realized, I heard the rumor that we might be in New York City and hoped. I mean, I hoped, I didn't do anything to actively campaign to be up here as part of the class of 2013, but I hope that I might be. And I just remember thinking to myself, I'd like to drop an elbow on Chris Jericho. Have some kind of ceremonial referee come out and make the count, right that heinous wrong. And I figured to bullet Charlie Brown on me and roll out of the way, or kick out on one and make my finish look weak. One more. That in a building filled with amazing memories for me, all of you. Chris, that was gutsy, my friend. And CM Punk, a kind gesture on the eve of WrestleMania, almost unthought of. Before I say goodbye, let me just say that it was CM Punk who took me in November of 2000 or late October, at a time when I had the least confidence in my own abilities that I'd ever had, and let me feed off the energy that he brings to the ring, and that resulted in one of the best and most emotional moments in my life. I believe Nature Boy is here somewhere. I ended up having one of the greatest match in my life in Backlash 2004 with a gentleman named Randy Orton. And it meant so much to me because I had my first match back in 4 years. I got to team up with The Rock. We reprised the Rock and Sock Connection. Very special to build up because I was asked how I feel about teaming up with The Rock, and I said, well, I heard The Rock would only come back if it was something really big. And they said, he considers this to be really big. And I went, really? I never knew he liked me that much. So, he likes me. He really likes me. But I looked out in the ring and I saw the Nature Boy Ric Flair, one of the greatest ever. And I saw Randy Orton on the cusp of greatness. And I saw the monster Batista, and I'm standing next to The Rock, and I could see The Rock was feeling it. And before I went to the ring, I stopped and I said a prayer. And I said, "Dear God, please don't let me suck out there." Not exactly reaching for the stars, is it? I did not suck, but I left that match thinking that I'd sold myself short and that you don't make it to this stage by simply not sucking. So the next month we created some history, and the fact that Randy Orton still counts that match in 2004 as his all-time favorite means a great deal to me. A couple of years ago, at a point when I long should have been retired, the Nature Boy Ric Flair let me see that good enough was simply not good enough, and he dragged one more moment of greatness out of this decrepit old body. So of all the moments that I've enjoyed, the special memories in this building, this one stands out as the greatest of them all. I know I say this in just about every town I go to. Can I mention that the American Dream hired me in 1991 and used me to the best of my abilities, and I thank him for that. I know I say this in every building in the country, and there are times when I go home and look myself in the mirror after saying words like, "It's great to be right here in Des Moines." It's tough, man. But without exaggeration, it was great to be right here in Madison Square Garden. Thank you so much, and have a nice day. Merry Christmas to all, and have a nice day. Thank you so much.